This is a terrorist attack. There is no doubt about that. We are threatened because we are a country of freedom. And because we are a country of freedom, we will punish the aggressors. We will face the threats. No one can possibly think that they can act here in France contrary to the principles of the Republic.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with the Malzberg panel. General Paul E. Vallely and senior analyst at LIGNET, Lisa Ruth. Okay, let's start with you, General. The French military moved around quite a bit after the attack in Paris. Talk about what they did, and is that something that you would expect?
Steve, yes, it is something you would expect from the French forces over there to reposition some of their airborne forces out of southern France near Pau, France, as well as their special operations and even some of the French police forces to go around in those suburbs, at least on the outskirts now, because remember, there's still no-go zones. And what Lisa said, intelligence, but it's more than that. It's political correctness, and it's the multiculturalism that has not worked over there. So when these forces go in, they're very careful again, because the officials that are watching don't want them to infringe on these no-go zones in Sharia law and incite more of the Muslim radical activity. But they're primarily going north of Paris because that's where a lot of the threats are coming from, and where the two remaining suspects, the brothers, evidently are heading, from what we understand, to Belgium and maybe one of the no-go zones up there.
Well, what about it, Lisa? Smart move? That's the right thing to do?
You almost have to. Again, unfortunately, what you had mentioned on the lead-in before, it certainly does provide information to these terrorists about how we in the West respond to something like that. On the other hand, you can't not respond. And for these terrorists, a year of planning ahead of time, they probably knew what was going to happen after the fact anyway. The fact that they've gotten away this far. We also know that many of these terrorists aren't concerned with getting away. A suicide bombing is a completely acceptable outcome for them. So it's not as big a deal, but I do think the military had to respond. They have to take these actions. It's important for them at this point to try to make France feel secure.
You know, Lisa, yesterday we thought that these people were very sophisticated, had it all figured out, totally almost, at least I did. We saw, you know, militarily speaking, you know, they knew how to shoot, they knew how to act, they didn't panic, they shot the cop in the head and they walked back to the car, the whole thing. And then we find out one of the brothers leaves his ID on the seat of the car. We think back to the sneaker that fell out. Now they may have robbed a gas station, they're on the run. So maybe they weren't as suave and sophisticated as we think.
Maybe not. On the other hand, as the General can attest, there's a big difference between training and action. And it looks like, at least initially, again, speaking to colleagues over there, the mistake they made was leaving the ID behind. That was the first thing. And now after the fact, it does seem that they're panicking a little bit. And some of this may be because once things are not going the way they're planned, you start to see things fall apart. And it's not all that surprising to see something like this. You can be trained all you want, but in the real world, it's a whole different ballgame.
Right. General, back to your point of the police and the communities, is it possible that these brothers could be, you know, hidden away by some in the community?
Oh, absolutely. And that's where they go back to their lair, where they have that kind of protection and security. But, you know, again, when you don't have a policing of those areas, and as Elisa pointed out, maybe you don't have good intelligence within those no-go zones, then it's hard to have anybody on the ground that can give you that information. That's why covert operations, covert intelligence people are absolutely critical in this combat now. This is not a war on terror anymore, Steve, as I said. This is combat. And it's combat against radical Muslims and radical Islam, and we have got to take it seriously.
All right, retired Major General Paul E. Vallely, and the founder of Stand Up America, and senior analyst at LIGNET, Lisa Ruth. Thank you both. Very great debate. Appreciate your information. Folks, when we come back, we're going to do the first of our Gimme Fives for today, and we're going to take a look at how some in the media have responded to what took place yesterday. Make sure you watch. It's next.